Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. Now, we're continuing to watch very closely the Kursk incursion by Ukrainian forces. We are also watching the continued Russian offensive taking place towards the key transportation hub of Pokrovsk. Russian forces continue its methodical advance towards that city, while at the same time using vast amounts of heavy artillery, multiple launch rocket systems, and most importantly, GLONASS-guided glide bombs against Ukrainian targets. Now, additionally, in the north, in the Kursk incursion, the Ukrainian government is claiming that they are now consolidating gains, especially around and in the border town of Sudzha. Now, it does appear that the Russians, as I've talked about yesterday, are preventing further Ukrainian advance, especially towards the important E38 highway. The Russians have established blocking formations, preventing further Ukrainian advance to the north-northwest. They have also established blocking positions to prevent further movement down the R200 highway, and in the south as well. And we know that Ukrainian formations made attempts to enter in a direction towards Belgorod, but were prevented in crossing very deeply into the Russian Federation by Russian forces. Russian forces were much better prepared for possible Ukrainian incursion, and the force disposition of Russian forces was much greater than the Ukrainian forces in this area. Now, what's interesting is the continued reports that are coming out of Western media. Western media would have you, the viewer, believe, and most likely if you are watching CNN, MSNBC, you are, by definition, a uninformed urbanite. You are primarily vested in popular culture with very little knowledge of history. Most neoliberals in the United States that watch CNN, watch MSNBC for a very short period of time, 5-10 minutes at best, that is where they obtain their news. Most of these individuals do not know what countries border the United States, a very large percentage. Very few of the uninformed voting urbanites in the U.S. can even tell you on a map where the Ukraine, the borderlands are. I mean, forget about other nation states such as Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania. Forget about it. They're not that deep. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because more people should be aware of the historical significance that has happened in the past. Now, what is mildly entertaining at the same time incredibly worrisome is the understanding of what is happening. Most of the uninformed urbanites here in the United States believe in the Kamala Harris depiction of history. Ukraine, a small country, borders a big country, Russia, and Russia, the big country, invaded the small country, the Ukraine. And that's it. It's black and white. But unfortunately, it's much, much deeper than that. Much deeper. Does anybody really believe that neoliberals in the West have taken an interest in the Ukraine simply because they want to make Ukrainians happy and free? Think about that for a second. That is the mainstream mantra. The Ukrainians simply want to be happy and free, and us in the West, in our grand wisdom, we are going to help the Ukrainians become happy and free. Because we want everybody to be happy and free. We want the people in Kosovo to be happy and free. We want the people in Iraq to be happy and free. Everybody needs to be happy and free. And if you think that is the only motive, if you think that's the only motive of neoliberalism, to make you happy and free, then you're blind. You're blind. And most likely, stupid as well. Now, the offensive, the ongoing incursion, offensive, advance, whatever you want to call it, by the Ukrainians in Kursk is slowly but surely slowing down. The Russian blocking formations are up. The Russians are bringing in the necessary weapon systems, more importantly, air power, to eventually start bombarding Ukrainian forces at a very regular pace, and then eventually destroy Ukrainian forces in the area of this incursion. Now, what's interesting is we're hearing reports that both the United Kingdom and the Ministry of Defense of the Ukraine were seeking authorization for a Storm Shadow release against targets deep inside the Russian Federation. So the question is what targets was the Ukraine looking to strike with these Storm Shadows? Were they looking at targets near Kursk? And if so, what targets were they looking at? Were they looking at even more robust targets, such as an attempted strike against the Russian capital? Again, what we're seeing right now in terms of the rationale behind this Ukrainian incursion is public relations, the media. It is designed to distract attention from other parts of the conflict that are not going so well. So again, right now, the Western media's attention is on the Kursk offensive. It is not on what is happening in the direction of Pokrovsk. My guess, as Russian troops continue to move towards Pokrovsk and take this vital transportation hub, very little will be reported in the mainstream Western media. Very little. As it's being reported now, very little. But again, this offensive by the Russians is very efficient, albeit slow-moving. It is moving. And more importantly, the methodology of the Russian strategy in these areas is to slowly degrade and destroy the Ukrainian military until it collapses. And when it happens, folks, it's going to happen very rapidly. And it will probably surprise even Western media. And I'm not sure they will even know how to cover the general collapse of the Ukrainian military. So then the question is, if that happens, could we see direct NATO intervention? Now look, I understand that NATO is already intervening in the conflict. They're there. They're absolutely there. But will it become more overt? and lead to global war. And that's what we are concerned about. We are heading along that path. The path we are on right now eventually takes us to what could be global nuclear war. So more to come. Thank you for joining us. We will continue to monitor and report and bring you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Have a good day.